there are different reasons we get stuck and different kinds of stuckness, different kinds of stalling, of standing at the edge of the next thing you want to build, the life you want to move forward, require different approaches. I've met and worked with so many women, myself included, that thought they needed better strategy, a better plan, but in reality, they were just burnt out. People that thought they were confused, but they were just outgrowing in that uncomfortable phase of outgrowing an old chapter, old identities, life that doesn't fit anymore. So there are different reasons. I've actually identified 6 recurring patterns. And why I think is important and why I think this should be step number 1 and why I created the bigger life, the link is in the description box, is because once you know why you're stalling, which of the reasons, which of the flavors of stuckness feels most alive for you, you know the one reason, you know the one thing that is creating the most friction between where you are and where you want to be. And once you know that, you can intervene, you can implement the tools that are actually specific for your situation and for your particular reason of getting stuck. So this is part 2. We already went through the first 3 patterns or 6 gaps, as I like to call them, because what you are doing with these tools, and step 1, you identify the gap, the reason you're stuck. And step 2, you build the bridge from where you are to where you want to be. So today we move forward. So the number 1, we will explore the last 3 in this video. So gap 4, we already went through 1, 2, and 3. Gap 4 is missing the spark. You might be missing, that flame, that inner fire, that inner drive. You get things done and choose what makes sense, what's logical, what pays the bills, what keeps momentum moving, what makes logical sense, until one day you realize you become excellent at managing your life, but stopped listening to what makes you feel alive. Ways this shows up in your real life, in your day-to-day, everything feels a bit flat, like kind of like you're coasting. Everything is okay. Things are going okay, but there's no spark. There's no fire, that flame. You are functioning, but you're not flourishing. You don't feel like you're actually reaching your fullest potential to bloom to your most creative, authentic, fulfilling expression in life. You haven't asked yourself, what do I really want? What do I actually want in a while? And most of your time goes toward obligation, responsibilities. Usually, when this happens, there's little time for play, for creative resets, for creative expression, for creative practices. That's why sometimes in my videos, you see one of those paint with me, sketch with me practices, because I also use it as a way to reignite the spark. And I always recommend choosing something that perhaps you used to love doing when you were little, or something that you put aside because there's no time anymore, because your plate is already full, because you have other priorities, because you're taking care of other people, maybe your family, because there's just no time in your schedule. But those things are also essential. Cultivating the things that make you feel alive, that make you feel free, that make you feel inspired, that make you feel, when you get to do those things where it feels like time stops. You could be doing it forever. And maybe you're lucky enough that that happens with your work. I do experience that state of flow when I'm working with clients, even when I'm recording, even if sometimes I have resistance to recording or I feel tired or my day has been full, when I am in the process of recording, like I am right now, I experience that state of flow. And it does so many magnificent, marvelous things to our nervous system, to our body. And it also is a way to reconnect with your desire, with your voice, with your creativity, with that part of you that likes to play, that part of you that is the most free, the most open to receiving insights, to receiving ideas, the most, yes, we have the logical, yes, we have to make the decisions that make sense, that drive us forward, that are logical. But if every decision goes in that direction, we risk becoming rigid in our body, rigid in our expression, rigid in how we operate. And also, our life starts to feel constraining and rigid. So, we need detours, little moments, even to stop and pause and savor, like enjoy the view, how far you've come, savor the little moments, and create those little pockets in your day, in your week, in your month. I don't think quantity is as important as quality and consistency. Even if you don't have time every day, I don't have time every day to cultivate my passion for painting, as a hobby, as a way for creative expression. But I make sure at least a couple times a month, at worst, once a month, I get to do that. And I am consistent with that. I do my best to be consistent with that. So quality over consistency and dedication. It's actually a practice of devotion, being devoted to your cultivating your creative voice and reigniting the spark, because that also fuels how you show up in every other area of your life. So a little reframe. Oh, this is the wrong file. Hold on a second. I'm reading directly from the Bigger Life, the PDF. There you go. So the reframe that I want to offer with that, your life can look successful on paper and still feel strangely flat inside. Somewhere between responsibility, productivity, and doing what makes sense, many of us lose touch with what genuinely excites us. And your bigger life needs that connection back to what makes you feel excited, alive. Okay. So, very important to nurture also that aspect. And it's also a matter of balancing, right? Because too much play without any structure, any discipline, it may not yield the results. It might not create the momentum. It might not get us where we want. And too much structure, it might end up depleting us. The reason we're not flourishing, because that aliveness, that excitement is the fluid, is the life force, is the juice. Actually, the life force is the combination of both sides, but the juice, the nourishing part that makes you feel nurtured, is essential to actually feel completely alive, completely expressed, and able to tap into your full potential. Next, gripping too tightly. So, example, you care deeply about your work, your mission, your calling, your vision, and the life you're building, the life, the career, the relationships, the business you're building. And sometimes that care turns into attachment or trying to control the outcome, over planning, over controlling. But instead of creating momentum, it creates tension. everything feels tense. Everything that feels tense creates friction. So, some ways this might show up. You might feel restless when you don't know the outcome, when you're not sure, when you can't control everything, every little detail, every little thing, when there is a level of uncertainty that trips you up. You keep checking stats, analytics, replies, results. You're always keeping tabs. You're always checking constantly. That is the need to stay in control because it gives you metrics, numbers. It gives you an illusion of staying in control. Of course, those things are important, but getting overly attached and overly relying on those, also another way we might create more friction, more rigidity, and end up feeling like we're stuck, like we're stalling because we grip too tightly. And everything we're building requires a level of trust in life to meet you halfway, universe, God, however you want to fill in the blank, however you want to call it. We are a part of a whole. It's not just us. There's a level of unpredictability that you cannot control. You cannot plan everything. And there's also a level of surrender required for any project, any leap. When you take a leap, I always talk about I'm here to ruin your comfort zone and help you take the leap. When you take the leap, even if you've done it again and again and again, there's always a level of why does it feel uncomfortable? Because you don't know, you can't know for sure. The only thing you know is that you have to follow that calling, that voice that is telling you, go. Because perhaps the pain of staying where you are is greater than the fear of risking what that leap, where that leap might take you, what might happen. But once you start taking those leaps, you kind of build the muscle and you kind of train your nervous system that, hey, we're not going to die. It's going to be okay. And you kind of build, the more trust you build in yourself, the more trust you build in life to meet you halfway, the more you can surrender a little bit of that. You don't need to do it all. You don't need to hold it all. You can surrender a little bit of that. Sometimes when we grip too tightly at a physical somatic level, it shows up as tension, especially in this area, the shoulders, because it's literally like you're carrying everything yourself. Like the world is on your shoulders. All the problems, all the worries, things that might be a problem, but likely 90% of the times are not going to happen, you carry them. So often it looks like tension and rigidity, neck pain, jaw tension, grinding your teeth at night. Sometimes it looks like that. So rigidity, stiffness, and a lot of tension in the upper body, the controlling, right? And almost like this position where we're leaning forward because you're ready to take action, always ready to spring if something happens. So that's even talking about that, I feel like I need to take a breath because I know what it feels to be in that space. Still, sometimes it happens that I catch myself trying to control, trying to grip into tightly. Attachment is a real struggle for humans. Attachment to metrics, attachment to results, attachment to dynamics, attachment to identities, attachment to environments, and just wanting to control because control gives you the illusion of safety. But how much more powerful? It is much more powerful to cultivate that sense of safety within, meaning that, okay, I release, like up until here, I know I can trust myself. I feel safe, but I release control for what happens. Like I do my part and then I trust for life to meet me halfway, for flow to kind of take care, for earth, for nature, for the collective intelligence to kind of meet me halfway. Insert God, insert universe, insert the cosmos, whatever resonates for you. But it's a co-creation process. I think a big part of if you feel this is the gap, this is the pattern that resonates with you, there is a lot. It's important, actually, it's important to cultivate that sense of safety, inner safety, starting with your body, nervous system, um, and trust in yourself. And remembering that whatever you are creating, whatever you're moving toward, it's not just you. You're not alone. And even reaching out for support when you need it. You're not alone. It's a co-creation process. Even if you're a solo business owner, even if you're embarking and taking a leap, moving abroad solo, taking the leap solo, you're never really alone. So perhaps the invitation might be to connect to that something greater, find that connection, maybe reigniting your spirituality, a practice, a spiritual practice, and just even connecting with nature and your body is the way through, is the way through. The need to control often comes from a genuine place because you care. Because you care so much. You want to get it right. You want for the thing you're building in service to others, in service to the earth, in service to the people you feel called to help and support, and the reason you're showing up for, you care. You care so much. You want to go, you want for it to go well, and you want to do right. So you want it to work, but most things need space and time to grow and bloom. Sometimes you've got to live it a little bit alone so it can settle, it can do its own thing. And not everything needs constant input, constant attention. Sometimes it's detrimental when we're giving it too much attention. Think of it like a little child. There's always a balance. Attention, yes, um, giving that sense of safety, helping the child build that sense of safety, but also leaving the child's space to get it wrong within the context of safety and just learn to trust their own movements, their own voice, their own senses. There's always that balance. Too much control leads to rigidity, and too little control might be unsafe. So there needs to be a balance in there. Not everything needs constant attention or fixing from you. Your next level, your bigger life asks you to trust what you've already planted. Trust that if you have planted those seeds and if you are nurturing those seeds, not over flooding with water, not burning it with too much light and sunlight, just tending it naturally, it will organically, naturally, intelligently bloom and grow. Last one, caring too much. You're caring too much. You are the strong, capable, reliable, responsible one everyone can count on. You're always there for everyone. You don't forget your responsibilities. You always show up on time. You're always available. You're always a yes to supporting others. You probably don't even think of yourself as overwhelmed in the classical sense. But over time, responsibility becomes over responsibility and you start carrying things that were never yours to carry. Some examples of how this shows up in real life: you feel responsible for solving other people's problems. even when you're not asked. You just take it on. You step in before you're asked. You take on things that aren't yours. You carry more than you share, more than your share. You carry more than your share. And yeah, supporting others is important, but always from a place of being overly nurtured yourself, not from an empty cup, as the saying goes. Being highly capable and resourceful is a gift, but letting everything depending on you is exhausting. And in the long term, your nervous system, your body pays the price. It presents you, it shows you the bill. The more you carry that isn't yours, the less room you have for what is. Because we can only carry so much, we can only tend to so much. Yes, we can build capacity for more, but if the things you're worrying about, if you're the things you're carrying, if you're things you're taking on, start to take up more space than your own stuff, because we also have our own stuff to carry, to solve, to sit with, to navigate through. You have less and less capacity to take care of yourself. And if you are someone that wants to be there for others, if you want to show up for others, maybe you're a teacher, a facilitator, a mentor, a coach, a guide, even in the context of your family and your community, if you want to show up at your best, at your fullest potential, at your fullest capacity, your responsibility is to fully take care of yourself first. Because if you're not doing that, you're not even serving others at the best of your ability, simply because you don't have the energy for it. You don't have the capacity for it. So, just a reminder, your bigger life needs stronger support, a network, reach out, set boundaries that you get to honor. Shared responsibility. What is mine? What isn't mine? What can we share? Highly important. And exquisite boundaries. If you are building something bigger, something greater in your business, in your career, in your relationships, you need boundaries, girl. Boundaries are protection of your own time, of your own space, of your own energy. Invaluable resources. You got to protect them. It's very easy to let circumstances, just life, others step over those boundaries. So it's important that you take responsibility, and it's important that you kind of get into a practice of devotion toward your boundaries and what they represent, sort of like a value and something you get to do to show up at your best for yourself, to enjoy your life at its fullest capacity, and for others too, and in your work as well. Let me know in the comment which one resonated the most. And you can find the other three in the part one of this video, of this series. And I hope this was helpful. Maybe it illuminated something for you. If you want to get access to the bigger life with the full 30-day roadmap, there are also nervous system friendly tools that help you build that capacity and also approach each gap in a specific way to build that bridge from where you are to where you want to be. The link is in the description below. If you don't know, my name is Marina, and I'm here to remind you every day that the life you desire is just one leap of courage away. I hope you take it because you're ready. Thank you so much for watching. It means the world to me. I'm so grateful. I'm so honored that I get to do this. As I said, I love recording videos, you guys. And My original plan was to record 100 daily videos. This one is, let me check. I think we're at day, my God, 84. This is video 84. So we're getting really close to the end. And I haven't publicly announced it yet, but we're going to keep going. I will keep posting daily. And I do have a commitment, a date in my mind. It does feel big. So I want to sit with that a little bit longer before, because once I communicate it, once I announce it, it's gonna be, it's gonna happen because I'm stubborn. So I'm just gonna sit with that for a moment, but we'll definitely keep on going. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting? Come along for the journey, and I will see you tomorrow. We recorded. It feels like my eyes are closing. My eyelids feel heavy. I don't know. Might be the lighting. Maybe I'm tired, but I'm glad. I'm glad we got to do this. And I hope it was supportive in any capacity, in any way. I'd love to know. Let me know. Comment. Let me know.